But it was Rwanda. It was Kigali, it was Kagame who killed our soldiers. The support he gave to M23, and that M23 acting in a disrespectful manner they did to the South African soldiers. They knew they've got a backing of Rwanda. But now, why do you want to treat Rwanda like it's a friend, like it's progressive? Rwanda was prepared to take immigrants from London at the exchange of money. They are the ones who are working with imperialist forces to want to undermine DRC. We are not saying the government of DRC is perfect, but it cannot be undermined the way the guy is doing. Kagame and Museveni. So Kagame has got blood of South Africans on his hands, and nothing is going to change. Now we are told the bodies are decomposing. There's no clear passage to can go and collect the bodies. They have captured the South African base, by the way, and they're not telling you this in confidence. They keep on talking as if things are fine. Things are not fine. They've captured the base next to the airport. What is that airport? The Goma airport. Our base is captured there. Our soldiers are under the supervision of M23. When they want to go to a toilet, they ask for permission from M23 and they accompany them to a toilet. This were told by a soldier on the phone. Deputy President of the EFF was there. He says the only thing they haven't done to belittle us and make us more humiliated and violated is that they've not taken our guns. That's the only thing. But even if they carry those guns, what can they do? You're going to shoot and run away. Because you've got soldiers inside your camp and more soldiers outside your camp. So there's no need. They know you can't do anything with those guns. So they've destroyed the South African army. You could say we cut the budget, but you still send soldiers outside South Africa. You still send soldiers outside South Africa even when you don't have budget. You must first deal with your house first to be in order before you can go and help other people. South Africa's army is not in order. Someone was saying they've released fighter jets, hey, on good road. There's nothing, there's no fighter jet, nothing. Till today, there's nothing. Where is that Roy Falk we're told growing up that is the best fighting machine? Where is it? Grounded. And then because this failure is done by favorites of the establishment, they are not exposing their failures. If it was a different government, for sure the pictures of those soldiers of South Africa who were captured were going to be circulating now. The reason why we no longer see those videos of South Africans, they took phones away from them. They no longer have phones. So there is a big problem. We have no capacity. That's why I'm not saying let's go and attack. I'm saying withdraw. Let's regroup. Let's regroup and retrain. And if Rwanda has got anything to do with this, let's go for them. Because we're not going to have Rwanda dictating to us. And Kagame speaking to Cyril the way he was doing. We know Cyril is weak, but he remains the president of our country. The way he was addressing Cyril, he was addressing us. He can't address us like that. He can't kill our people and not be challenged on that. And SADC agrees that the Rwandan army had something to do with what is happening there. Who is the commander-in-chief of the Rwandan armed forces is Kagame. We are not saying DRC is in a good hands and therefore it's just being provoked. By how DRC has dealt with issues in Eastern DRC is something that needs to be resolved if we're to have a permanent resolution into that crisis. But to undermine colonial borders because you think you've got a backing of France and all imperialist forces to an extent of challenging the biggest army, South Africa, they've undermined us to the extreme. And South Africa, at some point, it might not be today because we are not in a rightful position to do so. Let the soldiers come back. Let our brothers and sisters come back. Let's give them a dignified funeral. And as part of a mourning nation, that demonstration by army at the opening of parliament was not supposed to come. They were not supposed to have that parade on Thursday during the State of the Nation address. You are going to parade what, man? Agar parading is to show us how capable you are. You are exposed. They're going to be intimidating us there with 21 gun salute as if they can use it anywhere else. It can only be used there during rehearsals. So if I was in the army, I would suggest if in parliament we don't go, we must be ashamed. The only way we are going to reclaim our dignity is by receiving those dead bodies, bringing back the soldiers, giving the dead bodies a dignified send-off, and regrouping and retraining and putting a very strong team that will go back and reclaim South Africa's place in the continental politics, because as things stand, we're a joke. The EFF remains firm in its stance that the deployment of South African National Defence Force to Democratic Republic of Congo is reckless and unjustifiable. With the increasing hostilities involving M23 rebels, it is imperative that South Africa withdraws its troops to ensure their safety. The escalation of tensions presents a clear risk, and it is unacceptable for our soldiers to be caught in a conflict where their presence does not serve the interest of peace in the region. Furthermore, should it be established that Rwanda deliberately targeted South African forces, then President Cyril Ramaphosa must act decisively. South Africa cannot continue diplomatic and trade relations with a nation that undermines its sovereignty and endangers its citizens. If Rwanda is found to be directly responsible for the attacks on South African troops, then all trade agreements and engagements with the country must be revoked without any hesitation. The embassy of Rwanda should be closed with immediate effect, because we cannot share the soil with the people who have blood of South Africans on their hands. Our reluctance to engage in warfare should never be mistaken as a cowardice, and our call for a retreat should never be confused as fear. Should the threat and attack on the South African National Defence Force persist while we call for peace and diplomatic resolution of the conflict continue, then South Africa must defend itself. To state the sovereign right of self-defense in the face of provocation is not warmongering, but a necessary caution that South Africa must and is able to recollect its strength and defend itself should it be necessary. The EFF has noted the threat by the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, who has issued a threat to cut foreign aid to South Africa and impose sanctions on South Africa for adopting legislation that permits the expropriation of land without compensation and implementing policies that addresses historical race-based inequalities in our country. The statement by Donald Trump is offensive and undermines our sovereignty, and is a reminder that our reliance on foreign aid and foreign direct investment surrenders us to the will of imperialists who use money to dictate the economic and policy direction of Africa. We want to make it categorically clear to the President of the USA that we are going to expropriate land without compensation and pursue legislative measures to do so, and no threat will stop us. His misinterpretation of the Expropriation Act, which is a mild and cosmetic intervention, is an assessment of a measure that is going to be pursued through the amendment of our Constitution as South Africans, and there is nothing he can do to undermine our independence. The EFF reiterates its position that we must build state capacity, build a strong agricultural and industrial nation which will not depend on the West, and intensify trade relations with progressive nations such as China, Russia, and nations within BRICS who do not use foreign policy as an instrument to impose their will or bully other nations into submission. The EFF has welcomed the ceasefire in Gaza following the massacre of Palestinians by apartheid Israel and what can only be described as a genocide. For too long, the world has turned a blind eye to the human rights atrocities in Palestine, which include the killing of women and children, bombarding of hospitals, schools, and religious sites of worship, and displacement of Palestinians from their rightful land. The ceasefire must not mean that there will not be accountability for the death of more than 100,000 Palestinian people since the latest genocidal attacks on Palestinians by Israel. The Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and the Israeli Defense Force remain war criminals. The warrant of arrest issued by the International Criminal Court, ICC, against Netanyahu must remain enforceable, and South Africa must lead by example by implementing the resolution of the Sixth National Assembly, which include the expulsion of the Israeli embassy from South Africa and cutting of all diplomatic ties with Israel. The EFF notes the drastic improvements in the city of Tshwane since the removal of the Democratic Alliance from governance. For 8 years, the DA controlled Tshwane, but their tenure was marked by systematic neglect of black communities and extreme fear-mongering that black leadership from the EFF will ruin the city. However, they oversaw the collapse of critical services and left behind the city in ruins. Since the DA's removal in 2024, Tshwane has made a significant strides. The EFF's MMCs have ushered in an era of progressive governance, demonstrating that the DA's absence does not equate to the failure of government. For the first time in years, the people of Hammanskraal have access to clean drinking water, a basic necessity that the DA failed to provide. The city is cleaner and safer, and resident concerns are attended to daily. The improvements seen in Tshwane stand as evidence that the DA governance model was never about service delivery for all, and their removal has allowed service delivery to thrive, proving that governance is more effective without their divisive, exclusionary policies. Furthermore, as we have entered into the year of the picket lines, we have a clear head start targeting service delivery failures and ensuring tangible improvements where we govern. In the city of Johannesburg, public safety and visibility are at the highest level under our leadership. Our presence in the Johannesburg municipality has ensured that communities experience real and impactful governance. The same dedication is evident in Ekurhuleni and Nelson Mandela Bay, where the EFF is actively addressing service delivery challenges. In Ekurhuleni, the provision of water and infrastructure maintenance is on track, ensuring that residents receive the basic services they deserve. Meanwhile, in Nelson Mandela Bay, the EFF is making significant difference for the indigent, particularly old age homes, by facilitating the cancellation of their municipal debt. These victories demonstrate our commitment to economic freedom and dignity for all, proving that where the EFF leads, service delivery follows. We call on all of our fighters to remain focused and disciplined and rally behind the collective efforts to return the EFF to the people. The EFF remains the most potent weapon for the liberation in South Africa. And under the theme of the year of the picket line, we will uplift the lives of the poorest of the poor towards the decisive election victory in 2026 local government elections. Let us build strong, genuine and organic structures of the EFF which will service our people and assume governance. Let us defend, rebuild and advance the struggle for economic freedom in our lifetime. I thank you.